Hello everyone, this is Timothy Mark with Alexandria.
How's everybody today? Hope everybody's having a great week so far.
And we are a World Paranormal Research Society. The website's worldparanormalresearchsociety.org. YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's World Paranormal Research Society. Today we're going to talk about the Ark of the Covenant and how some people may think, if they don't know any better, the Pandora's box might have something to do with the Ark of the Covenant. I'm going to be honest with you. I did not know a lot about the Pandora's box until we started preparing for this episode. But Alexandria is going to tell you about the Pandora's box. The Ark of the Covenant. Let's talk about how movies get the facts of the Bible all screwed up. With Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, okay, that's about the Ark of the Covenant, the hunt for the Ark of the Covenant. And in that movie, Indiana Jones says, well, Moses came down and he broke up the tablets and they put the broken pieces of the tablets into the Ark of the Covenant. Well, that is bullshit. So that's not what happened. If you go read the Bible, yes, when Moses came down, he did break the first set of stones. He broke them. This is true, but he had to get replacement stones, and the replacement stones were put in the Ark of the Covenant. Now, the broken pieces could have been put in there with them. However, that is not indicated in the biblical story. So we can only operate on facts, on what we have as facts. We know that the whole tablets that were unbroken were put into the Ark of the Covenant. What some of the things that were toted around with the Ark of the Covenant was the staff of Aaron, and the anointing oil that was used for the priest at the time. That was very important because, and this is another way that the movie showed, it could have never fell in Nazi hands. People were always wondering, what if Hitler really did capture the Ark of the Covenant? Well, if you read the Bible, anyone who is not blessed and anointed and able to carry and touch and ordained through God to touch that Ark of the Covenant couldn't have did it. They could not have touched it. There's one instance in which Joshua was going over to the River Jordan. He was crossing the River Jordan, and on the way over there, someone accidentally brushed up against the Ark of the Covenant, and they dropped dead. So Hitler would have never been able to touch the Ark of the Covenant. Never. Would have never fell in Nazi hands, so that was complete crap. So, yeah. What's your take?
We'll talk about the Ark of the Covenant, and you touched on Hitler. We all know that during the Second World War, Hitler was completely obsessed with obtaining occult objects, because even though the Ark of the Covenant was a Hebrew or Jewish related artifact, he did still realize the significance and the great power that it held. So Hitler was on a mission to collect any particular historical occult artifact, including the Spear of Destiny as well, because he wanted to, like we all know, take over the world.
Yeah, but check this out. The Ark of the Covenant, during the Exodus period, when the people were on their way to the Promised Land, the Ark of the Covenant was used as an altar that Joshua, Moses, and Aaron specifically knelt and prayed and meditated at. And so that was pretty much their altar. On top of the Ark sits, I can't even pronounce the word.
Cherubims, you said?
Cherubims. I can't pronounce the word correctly probably, but cherubims to which they're kneeling and their wings are touching. In between where their wings are touching, in that little area underneath there, is supposed to be intense power that can bring down cities, conquer, and that goes back to Hitler. But if Hitler would have read the Bible, he would have understood that with his mission, nobody that he knew could have touched that Ark of the Covenant that had the intentions that he had. And so the Ark of the Covenant housed the 10 Commandments, the replacement 10 Commandments. Now let's go into the Pandora's box a little bit and what it holds.
Well, what I was thinking when I was doing some of this research, as many of you know, I'm a historian. Ancient civilizations, ancient cultures are something that I really enjoyed since a child. But I often wondered, because again, we're going to go to the Hollywood movie, and this isn't factual. We all know that really the Ark of the Covenant is portrayed in Hollywood movies, that when you open the Ark, it's supposed to, unleash different plagues, or just unleash the power of God to just destroy everything in its path with even sound waves. I mean, we know that's Hollywood, people.
No, but that is true. Because and let me tell you why it's true. Because the Spirit of God was so intense during the making of those stones that even it transformed Moses himself when he was obtaining them. So the power that was in the stones was that's why God instructed them to construct an ark to house it in, because if they did open the lid to the ark, it did have a lot of power that came out of there. We can only speculate as to what the power would have done, how it would affect the people. We do not know. So yeah, that part at the end of Indiana Jones where everybody melts, that would probably be closer to the fact than not, but I imagine everybody evil would be destroyed. Sure.
And another moment in the movie that I thought was quite significant when we talk about Hitler and the Nazis again, that at the end of this particular movie, when this box is carted in or to this warehouse, or prior to that, or one point in the movie when they have the swastika symbol on that box, where the power of the Ark actually burns the image of the swastika away, because it is, signified as evil. So I thought that was a very significant pictorial image that maybe the director of the film was trying to put across.
And another thing is a lot of conversation that's came up over the last years in biblical studies and discussed in seminary schools is people couldn't understand why there was an ark constructed and why people would bow down and pray at the ark. And they wanted to signify that as being like a form of idol worship. It's not a form of idol worship. The ark was, because the children of Israel were traveling at the time, and they could not construct a permanent altar for them to worship at. That ark was a traveling altar to which people would pray at, and things of that nature.
And how I was even misinformed as a child too, that I thought those cherubim images on the top of the lid or the top of the Ark of the Covenant looked so much. There's an image of Isis with her wings like that, bowing like that. I always thought, that's how I was misinformed as a child, because there is that almost exact image of Isis with her wings outstretched in Egyptian mythology, and I thought it was quite significant to me.
That's like saying, if I write an M and you write an M, the M's are similar. Okay, so if Isis was supposed to have wings or whatever, and she kneeled down and her wings were spread, it's going to look one way, outstretched or whatever. But the cherubim, the whole idea with them being kneeling is showing surrender to God, and also with their wings touching, it was to construct like a
force field of power almost.
Force field of power almost, yeah. But what I want to do is move on into the Pandora's box.
Okay, Pandora's box. And again, before I go into the history or the mythology of Pandora's box, we're going to touch on another Hollywood movie. All of you know Lara Croft, Tomb Raider. In one of the movies of Tomb Raider, there was Pandora's box, and in a way, it didn't go to the truth of the mythology, but it brought forth the power that Pandora's box is supposed to yield. And Pandora's box, for those of you that may not know or may not be familiar with the history, it's an artifact in Greek mythology that is taken from the myth of Pandora in Hesiod's Works and Days. And if I mispronounce something, please excuse me. It is my Canadian way of pronouncing things. The container is mentioned in the original story. The container that is mentioned in the original story is actually considered a large storage jar, but the word was later mistranslated, through the telling of the myth, as a box. So the original Pandora's box started its journey as a jar. And in modern times, you'll maybe kind of be, the idiom has grown from the meaning that any source of great and unexpected troubles. So now we're akinning Pandora's box in modern times with sort of any great source of great and unexpected trouble. And according to Hesiod, when Prometheus stole fire from heaven, Zeus, the king of the gods, and this is in Greek mythology, Zeus, the king of the gods, really took vengeance. He was very, very upset that Prometheus would disobey him. And he took his vengeance by presenting Pandora to Prometheus's brother. And Pandora opened a jar that was left in her care containing death and many other evils that which she released into the world. And she tried quickly in her haste to close the container, but to no avail. And the whole containers, the whole contents of the container had really escaped, except for one thing that lay at the bottom of it. And I'm going to leave what that one thing at the bottom of it is till the sort of the end of when I touch base on what Pandora's box is. And it's also can be associated with deceptive expectation. And really, again, from this Greek mythology to modern times, it's really any kind of unforeseen problems or troubles. I've said it myself in the past. If you go down that route in your life, it's just like opening Pandora's box. So without even realizing it, we use it in modern times to equate it with catastrophe, misfortune, unlucky ill will. And again, in modern times, you're opening a can of worms. How many times have you heard somebody say to you, you know what, you do that, you're going to open a can of worms. So that's another modern way that we take Greek mythology and akin it to Pandora's box. And really, many scholars or many historical scholars see a very close analogy between Pandora herself, who was made from clay, and the clay jar which dispenses evil. So it was said to be dispensing evil. And let's touch base on really who Prometheus was. He was actually born, Prometheus in Greek mythology was actually born with special powers of prophecy. And actually he knew that Zeus, the god of gods, would indeed defeat the Titans. And we all know who the Titans are. Hollywood movies, Clash of the Titans. Titans were almost like the Spartan warriors. They were special warriors. Zeus rewarded Prometheus and his brother for their loyalty and gave them the job. And this again is Greek mythology, so this is a myth in Greek culture, that Zeus gave Prometheus and his brother the job of creating the first creatures to live on the earth. So this is another variation of the creation myth. We've touched on that. Well, maybe we'll touch on that in other podcasts in regards to creation myths through different ancient civilizations. So this is the Greek theory on the creation myth. My up-and-coming book on Thoth will touch upon the ancient Egyptian myth on the creation. And Prometheus took his time. He really took his time. He was a really thinker. He really took his time molding man. And his brother actually was given the task of forming animals, and his brother gave each animal a special skill as a form of protection. So you'll make note that every animal in the animal kingdom has a special skill of protection. And we know the porcupine has quills, so that's sort of where we're going with a special skill of protection. But Prometheus, after he took his sweet time molding man, he was, because he took his time, he was actually left with no form of protection for man. So man, his creation, really had no way of protecting themselves. And he asked Zeus, who is the god of gods, if he could give man the gift of fire. The gift of fire. Zeus, for whatever reason, we don't know what the reasoning behind Zeus, absolutely refused. And the logic that Zeus had was that fire was only for the gods. And Prometheus, I guess, really couldn't understand why Zeus refused. And he took it upon himself and ignored Zeus and gave man fire anyways. And for this, Prometheus was punished by Zeus. And a lot of you may not know this particular myth. I'm familiar with it. The way that Zeus punished Prometheus was every day Zeus sent an eagle to feast upon Prometheus's liver, which grew back every day, so that he would have to endure this daily torture over and over and over again. And in the movie Alexander, when he was a child and Alexander's father took him down to the caves that had the Greek legends, there was actually a picture of Prometheus and an eagle pecking out his liver. So this was his torture for giving mankind the gift of fire. One day it's said in Greek mythology that Hercules found him and finally killed the eagle and let Prometheus go. And Zeus, being the god of gods, really thought that this torture was not enough. He also believed that humans should be punished for accepting the gift of fire from Prometheus. So he thought up a way to punish man. So this is where the legend or the Greek mythology in regards to Pandora comes into play. So Zeus, to punish man, he created a woman named Pandora. And that kind of brings me into another story that hopefully we will touch on another podcast, because it's something that has always spiked my interest in regards to in the Bible, in regards to Lilith. And I know Timothy knows a lot about Lilith being the first woman opposed to Adam and Eve. So really, in my way of thinking, this is another similarity between ancient religions, ancient civilizations, that I really akin Pandora to Lilith, because it sort of says that or it states in Greek mythology that Pandora was the first woman created by Zeus. Again, the similarities, hopefully, we'll touch base in regards to Lilith. And Zeus molded Pandora to really look as beautiful as Aphrodite. And a lot of you know the name Aphrodite. She was just, known for her beauty and casting spells on men. So Zeus molded her just to look like Aphrodite on purpose. And Zeus brought her to earth to marry Prometheus's wife. And actually Prometheus warned his brother about Zeus's trickery, but he was so smitten and he was so taken by her great beauty that he wanted to marry her anyway. So really, Prometheus's brother, and I believe his name, and I'm going to mispronounce this, that's why I've been avoiding that on purpose. Amphitheus was Prometheus's brother. As a wedding present, Zeus gave Pandora a box. So here we jump from the original clay jar now to the more modern similarities of box. So as a wedding present, Zeus gave Pandora a box, but warned her not to open it. And again, I see another similarity in regards to now another woman in biblical reference, Adam and Eve, where Eve was told, or Adam and Eve were told, not to eat this particular fruit from a tree in the Garden of Eden. Here, Zeus warned Pandora not to open the box. I mean, my logic is, how could you give somebody a box for a wedding present and not expect them to be curious? Like, curiosity killed the cat and not want to open it. I sure in the heck would want to open it. So I'm not sure what's up with that, but Zeus in my mind. But the other way that Zeus was was a trickster. Zeus actually created, in his creation of Pandora, making her breathtakingly beautiful, he also made her curious. So, 2 strikes against her, and gives her a box and tells her not to open it. What's up with that, I couldn't tell you. But of course, she was created curious, and she couldn't stay away from the box. And actually, the urge to open the box was so overwhelming that she opened the box. Horrible things flew out of the box, including greed, envy, hatred, pain, disease, hunger, poverty, war, and death. These are really all of life's misery. So curiosity got the best of her. She opened this box and all of life's misery just flooded into the whole world. And she tried in haste to slam the lid of the box down, to no avail. I mean, all of the stuff had been unleashed. And I know a few minutes later I left the question to ponder when I said previously about her opening, and everything had escaped except for one thing that lay at the bottom of the box. So the last remaining thing inside the box was hope. And ever since that time, humans have been able to hold on to this hope in order to survive the wickedness that Pandora had let out. So this is sort of telling me in a nutshell, through Greek mythology, or what they believed, how hope transpired into the world, and really saying that Zeus, he may have been rude, he may have been a trickster, he may have been ignorant, he may have been angry at the humans for accepting fire from Prometheus, but he could not. Again, there's another biblical reference that almost like God with the flood, with Noah, he was angry at how humans had become wicked and they were doing all these nasty things. In his rage, he just wanted to destroy the whole world. But in reality, Noah and his family were left to survive, to repopulate the world and bring animals aboard. So Zeus, again, is almost similar to God, in where he really he couldn't just be completely evil and have his vengeance destroy everything. He still wanted to leave humans have hope to hold on to. And Pandora's box now in modern times means anything that is best left untouched for the fear of what might come out of it. And remember, always best to let sleeping dogs lay. Almost, again, a modern reference to Pandora's box. Curiosity killed the cat. When somebody tells you not to do something, even with children, the first thing they do. And today, much of Christianity, the idea of the biting of the forbidden fruit, opening Pandora's box, refers to getting into a situation over which one has very little control. And this, again, with Pandora's box, the Ark of the Covenant, and so many other biblical references really tie into each other. And it sort of brings to light how things are all intertwined, whether we realize it or not.
You see, so now you're hearing the differences between the Ark of the Covenant and the Pandora's box. Really, it's kind of like the yin and the yang, the salt and the pepper. Whereas the Ark of the Covenant was created for man to see as a symbol of God and to have as an altar of worship. So, is the Ark of the Covenant? Let's say this: it consists of good things. What she just explained, the Pandora's box, only consists of one good thing, right? Hope. Whereas the Ark of the Covenant consists of the Ten Commandments, Aaron's rod. What did Aaron's rod do? It swallowed up the Pharaoh's snakes, right? And then it parted the Red Sea and stuff of that nature. Who was Aaron? Aaron was the priest of Moses. If you read the Bible, you'll see this. He was the high priest for Moses. So, yeah.
But, what I'm trying to sort of get at to people is to expand their horizons, like I always say, and just notice the similarities between different ancient civilizations, different ancient religious beliefs, how they intertwine with each other. Maybe one takes from the other, but changes the names up, changes the stories up.
And in a lot of cultures, God could be listed under different names, and we just call him God. But obviously, he had names back in the day, back before Jesus and all this. There was names. Other cultures could have other names for God, but still be speaking of our God. The God of Abraham, the God of Moses, the God, the creator of all. Well,
let's just touch on this. Now that you've opened that can of worms, like we said in Pandora's box, opening a can of worms, one supreme being, and as I've told you at the beginning of the explanation of the Greek mythology of Pandora's box, Zeus is the god of gods. and we touch on even the Egyptians had one god, and again,
that was Ra, right?
well, that was after it was thought that it was one god and he had other gods working under him. So here we have the similarity between Zeus, and he had other gods that Prometheus they granted those two other individuals for creating the animals and the human beings. So we had the supreme god, which is Zeus, giving the other god tasks to do, and that happened in ancient Egyptian, where Ra was the supreme being and the other gods had individual tasks.
Because in the book of Genesis, in the creation story, God actually says, let us create male and female in our image. God never said there was no other gods. God said, do not put them before me.
But I want to ask you too, okay, I've mentioned in this podcast how Zeus created Pandora. There was no other women before Pandora. So does that not sound like Lilith?
Yeah, it does sound like Lilith. We can do our next episode, actually, if you want. We can do on Lilith.
But you can see the similarities as well, and then it goes into the story of forbidden fruit, but this is a forbidden box.
Let me tell you the difference between Christianity and Judaism. Just so people know out there, I'm a Judeo-Christian. Judeo-Christian does not mean that we believe that Jesus Christ is God. In Judaism, the story of Lilith is held as a factual story. In Judaism, they believe that Lilith was the first female created. Christianity completely ignores that. However, without Judaism, there would be no Christianity, because Christ himself only had the Old Testament Bible.
Okay, but what is your theory? Why would the Christians want to just make it like Lilith never existed?
To make women submissive to men, because in the story of Lilith and man was created at the exact same time. So when the first male tried to tell Lilith what to do, she said, "You're not over me. We are equal." And so that created problems. And that's when you have the second creation story, when Eve is taken out of Adam's rib. Now Adam's first, and she's created from him. So she's of his flesh. So it was specifically in Christianity, the story of Lilith was removed to make women seem inferior
and powerless. So you're telling. So in a nutshell, and for all you women out there, Lilith was obliterated from the Christian Bible because it would enable women to have a voice and for women to stand up for themselves and consider themselves equal to men. And we see that in a lot of ancient civilizations, especially in ancient Egyptian cultures. I was watching an episode on TV not too long ago about Queen Hatshepsut, and she actually made herself a pharaoh. She would actually wear a false beard, and she considered herself, still she had a feminine face. She never said she wasn't a woman, but she was showing the world that she had as much power as a man, and she was taking that power whether they liked it or not. And a lot of her followers or the Egyptian people at that time were not comfortable with that, but she just took it upon herself, and she was a pharaoh. And again, that is women asserting power, and rightly so. That I think that should be done.
Yeah, I like during the debates for the president in the United States, during the debates, when a woman stood up and asked President, he was a candidate, Trump at the time, asked him if if women would get paid as much as men, and he replied that if you work and do as good a job as a man, then you get paid as much as a man.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, women, if we can do the job, like construction, whatever it is, or even being an astronaut, anything to do with physics or anything like that, darn right we should be paid the same rate as a man. But
let me give you this example. How many times have you walked into a Home Depot or a Lowe's, seen boxes up top? And women want equal opportunity, but when they want to pull that woman card when they can, they want to say, "Oh, can you get that box down for me? Oh, that's too heavy for me." Well, if it's too heavy for you, How come we both got the same job title, and yet we're making the same money? Because Home Depot and Lowe's will pay the same money for the same position, but you cannot do the same job.
You know what? I'm going to use again this idiom again. You're opening a whole can of worms, Pandora box, because I'm telling you, I can become very vocal because, you know what? I grew up on a farm. You know what? I can pull my weight. I don't know if Timothy will agree with it.
No, it's not an attack on you. Or it's not. There's a lot of women out there that can.
Do you agree that I can to an extent?
Yeah, I agree that you can. You're stronger than most men I know. So what I'm going to tell you is this. If you got women making the same amount as men, but they asking for the help of their male counterparts or co-workers, that is not fair. Because then the man has to do extra work. So in those situations, the man should be paid more. But when the woman can perform the same task, then yeah, they should be paid equal.
And you know what, in Timothy's defense too, I mean, I have to agree. I mean, Timothy has come a long way with his way of thinking since we first met. And, he had a way of thinking prior to that, but he's really come around and he's changed. And, we've had a lot of personal debates about the equality of men and women. And, we've sort of come to, a staying point where we do agree on a lot of these topics. And this podcast, we're only bringing this up because we're talking again about another woman in historical reference. This is in Greek mythology,
which is in Pandora. Now the difference between mythology and the Ark of the Covenant and Pandora's box being mythology, is that the biblical stories can be backed up with historical facts in historical books. Through mythology, it doesn't make it. I learned this through Dr. Bob Utley. If you go to his YouTube channel, I don't even know if he's got a YouTube channel, but he's got a lot of YouTube videos. Dr. Bob Utley said this. He said, just because we have not backed up mythology stories yet does not make them untrue. All that means is we've just recently backed up a lot of the biblical stories, like the book of like the story of Exodus and things of that nature. So who's to say in years to come we won't back up these mythological stories and they stop becoming myths and start becoming fact?
Well, as the saying goes, that legends and mythology are all started by truth. And it's just that through the years and through the retelling of the story gets changed, it gets altered, things get added, things get deleted. So, it's always started by a grain of truth. And there has been reference to Prometheus and the legend of the eagle pecking out his liver. I mean, that has been on drawings in regards to the Greeks. So that's a well-known myth in regards to Prometheus, and then Hercules coming and killing the eagle so that Prometheus does not have to endure the daily torture. And I mean, I think I find mythology very, very fascinating, and mythology from thousands of years ago, and we're still using the sayings to this day. Everybody, Pandora's box. I mean, oh, you're opening Pandora's box. Or even there was even a horror movie. I forget what it's, the horror movie with that box, the puzzle box. Maybe Timothy can correct me if it was Hellraiser or whatever, where they had that puzzle box that changed shapes, and then hell just broke loose from it, and then he had a circle orb with they're trying to make reference to their own version of the legend of Pandora's box unleashing hell.
Yeah, and let's again look at the fact that the Ark of the Covenant was never meant to be kept from us. It was meant to be kept from somebody using it for evil intentions. And so there's the hunt for it. Is it still on the earth? I believe that it is. Now let's talk about, again, the contents of the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, the Ten Commandments, the replacement stones, the Aaron's rod, and manna. Manna. Why was manna so important to put in that ark?
I don't know.
Because it's the food that God gave the Israelites to survive the Exodus, to eat during their travels.
And you know what? Talking about the Ark of the Covenant, and a very significant and symbolism, and like I've always tried to stress to everybody in these podcasts, symbolism, messages are all around us. We have to just learn to take down the blinders and take away what society has force-fed us and really look at things through, you know what, they always say try and look at the world through rose-colored glasses, but I want you to look at the world in paranormal or metaphysical glasses. Really look at the world for what it is, not for what TV, the news, and the government is telling you, but just go outside and look around you. In Winnipeg, Manitoba, I've made references to this before, our Manitoba Legislative Building, for whatever reason, was built by a master mason, and he had, on top of this building is a replica of the Ark of the Covenant. Why would that be on top of a government legislative building? That's food for thought. That's another way that there's messages, symbolism everywhere. Even I'm going to do a future podcast on runes and runic symbols and how the runic symbols are used. Some of the runic symbols that we use today, they used in the past, we use today for traffic symbols. And I think once I bring that attention to you, you're going to really start looking at traffic signs, picturism, and what's out there. Even if you look at a lot of the logos for the huge corporations, CBS, and a lot of that symbolism, ancient civilization is trying to tell you something. And we're so busy with the stresses of everyday life, worrying about this, worrying about that. We are not seeing the nose that's in front of our face. We're forgetting who we really are. And I mean, even the Bible has so many untold secrets in it. And we're just bypassing what this book or the Word of God is trying to relate to us.
Melchizedek, untold secrets. Melchizedek, no father, no mother, no beginning, no end. Melchizedek, the high priest, the highest priest with no birth and no death. Where'd he come from? Why is the priest that's supposed to exist today supposed to be in the order of Melchizedek? In Catholicism, these priests are not in the order of Melchizedek. So, in just what faith-based religion holds the order of Melchizedek? Where is it at?
And it's funny how these different civilizations, different mythology, all seem to have an origins in the Bible. And you know, you may find that hard to believe, but I'm telling you, people, that is completely true. And you know, I did a video on my Aleister Crowley Thoth deck. And, you know, it's very significant again where they're saying that tarot cards are really called the picture book of God. And this is God in the Bible. So, you know, we have Aleister Crowley, who is known or by many people as the beast or whatever you want to call him. But this Thoth tarot deck is actually akin to the picture book of God. So even
Hold on, let me insert something here. God said this, draw no image or likeness of which is in heaven, hell, or the sea. So when you say picture book of God, what are you talking about?
Well, it's just, I mean, I'm just reading something that Lady Frieda Harris was the artist that actually painted the images on the Thoth tarot deck under the guidance of Aleister Crowley. And she akins it to be a celestial game of chess, and the trumps are being like the pieces that are moved around according to the law in their own under the checkerboard. So the checkerboard being heaven, and all these images are God's picture book with different references to the elements: earth, air, water, fire. And I don't think anybody can dispute that. But you know what, I just think it's very informative if you try and learn and embrace different cultures, different belief system, because again, like I always stress, knowledge is power. So the more you absorb, the more you learn, the more aware you're going to be and more educated. And a lot of people, I think, a lack of education on spiritual issues really can get them in serious trouble. And I mean, you're not really living a balanced life.
Knowledge is power, because that's even representative of what the tree of knowledge was in the Garden of Eden.
And we're talking about the Kabbalah with the tree of life, the tree of knowledge. Again, made reference in this tarot card deck. So I mean, everybody is grabbing from this one source. They manipulate it, they change it for their own uses. But let's face it, folks, the origins are the same foundations.
Here's my alright, so to basically put a summary on the show here, or whatever. I want to say that people have been looking for the Ark of the Covenant. In my personal belief, I think it's in the Ethiopian church. Here's an interesting fact that a lot of people don't know about Hitler and the Nazi army. When they were plundering the world looking for religious artifacts, and don't get me wrong, Hitler wasn't religious, but when they were looking for religious artifacts, they came to Ethiopia. The Church of Ethiopia was guarded by one monk. Why couldn't the Nazi army overtake the one monk? That's why I believe the Ark of the Covenant is there. However, the Ark of the Covenant was never meant to remain there. The Ark of the Covenant's home is Jerusalem.
So you're, and then there's another Hollywood movie that makes reference to another historical biblical artifact. If you watch the movie Constantine, at the very beginning of the movie, they talk about the Spear of Destiny wrapped in a Nazi flag. That's at the beginning of the movie, that's making reference, or is just another symbolism that is thought that Hitler at one time was in possession of the Spear of Destiny, and we know that that's the lance that the Roman legionnaire is said to have pierced Jesus Christ's flesh on the cross to ensure that he was indeed dead.
It's not thought that Hitler was in possession of the Spear of Destiny. Hitler was in possession of what we know today to be the Spear of Destiny. So we don't know if that spear is actually the Spear of Destiny, but the one that's in the museum now, Hitler had it.
But that just goes into what we're trying to tell people, that even somebody like Hitler, that was evil to the very, very core, understood and knew the great power that these religious artifacts held. And I mean, he knew full well that the Ark of the Covenant was a Jewish Hebrew artifact, and he, like we all know what happened to the Jewish people, he wanted to annihilate them off the face of the earth, but he understood.
But let's understand why Hitler wanted to kill the Jewish people. There's a lot of misunderstandings on why Hitler wanted to kill the Jewish people. Hitler blamed the Jewish people for Germany's loss during World War I. That's why he wanted the Jewish people dead.
No, I believe in part of that, but not all of that. But we'll save that for a future show, because we're getting into...
I got an interesting history book right here that actually says that.
What book is that?
Well, you go ahead and talk, and I'll see if I can follow it.
Again, like I said, knowledge is power, and the purpose of these podcasts and what we're hoping to achieve is that we want you, again, ask questions. Don't accept everything as it's given to you. I mean, do your own research. Think about things that you want to, answers. Everybody is on a search for answers on the universe. So, I mean, the answers are there. It's just that if you want to take the time to open your eyes and really see what's available. I mean, what's on the internet and what's written in every single book is not what it is, folks. I mean, that's just some author's opinion.
The book I was referring to is called Writers on War. It's done by historians, people who have studied certain subject matters for 10 plus years. I haven't studied World War II for 10 plus years. I'm not an expert on Hitler by any means, but I like to take people's who have this expertise, and it's called Writers on War, and inside it's got an article called Adolf Hitler's Vision, and it talks about how he blamed the Jews for the loss of the war in World War I, and that's why he wanted to do that. So there you go.
But my philosophy on Hitler and the Nazis is really they've taken a lot of their beliefs, philosophies, a lot of their symbols from other cultures. As we know, the eagle was taken from the Roman culture, and the swastika was not theirs.
The Swiss swastika was a Buddhist symbol at one time. It was on the Buddha.
Hitler couldn't even think up their own logos. They had to use something because they understood the power that ancient cultures, like the Romans, there's really nobody that could beat the Romans in regards to military strategy. I don't care what anybody says. They were at the top of their game.
It's called swastika, by the way. But anyway, listen. The one of the interesting things, I was just reading up on Thor's hammer. And back way before Hitler, way before anything, Thor's hammer was thought that back in the days where they have cave drawings and things of that nature, they have a swastika symbol right next to Thor's hammer. Now I'm assuming, so everybody says that all right, the Buddha symbol was the swastika, but what I'm assuming was it had to have a deeper meaning than that pre-Buddha, because you have it on cave walls with the Thor's hammer.
Right. I mean, again, Thor, and we're talking about Zeus, and in Norse mythology, Thor is actually the supreme god, and all the other gods like Loki and everybody are under him. So that's just another similarity in regards to the one supreme god and having the other gods as underlings and having specific tasks like Zeus and God and different Ra and all different Buddha. I mean, the list could go on and on. Each ancient civilization has their one supreme god and the other gods. So it's quite interesting how other cultures take from each other, mold it, use it for their own use, and then put it out there.
Yeah, and we don't need to live and die by the King James Version Bible, and we need to study religion as a history. Study it in different ways, because there's a lot of similarities between different religions for sure. A lot of similarities.
And I mean, going back to Romans and their military strategy, and then the eagle is used as a symbol in the U.S. and that's all from the Romans too. Senate, again, U.S. Senate is from the Roman times. So all these things that were started thousands of years ago remain in modern times. Think
look
about it.
Look at the back of our dollar bill. We have the pyramid and stuff.
All-seeing eye, which is a Knights Templar Freemasonry symbol, and then we have the eagle that is symbol of the United States, goes back to the Roman times, because on the banners the Roman legions had eagles on it, and again purple.
But we got way off subject.
No, but this is all about cultures, how they intertwine, like the Ark of the Covenant, Pandora's box.
Well, the thing is, the Ark of the Covenant, the fact that you have the children of Israel, which is God's chosen people going into the Promised Land. If one of them accidentally brushed up against the Ark and dropped dead from this, God's chosen people, there's no way you could think that anybody with evil intentions could control that Ark.
And that's why in the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark, they have that symbolism that the Ark is contained in that cardboard box. The Nazi symbol is burnt off. That's telling you something. That's trying to give you a message.
that movie was full of shit.
I realize
it was a good movie. I like the movie Indiana Jones. I like the movies, but I wish they would have stayed more historical to the fact of the Bible. If they would have kept the Ark more to the Bible, it would have been awesome. But the fact that you have Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford, playing, and he's telling somebody, well, he's telling the story like he really knows the story, like he studied it. And Moses broke up the pieces of the Ten Commandments and they put it into the Ark. There's a lot that happened before that, and you know what? The replacement pieces were put into the Ark with Aaron's rod and with manna.
I can't add anything more to that. Like I said, Timothy knows more of that than I do. I'm more of the historian, more of mythology.
What about on this Pandora's box thing? The Pandora's
We don't
box?
know where Pandora's box is. I mean, just like in Lara Croft Tomb Raider, it was buried under the ocean at one of the temples. But to this day, there's no reference of the original Pandora's box ever being found, ever being uncovered. Because, I mean, can you imagine the catastrophic potential if it got into the wrong hands, that somebody just on a whim wanted to open the box and unleash hatred, all these evils upon the world? Like, oh, that's just like having a vaccine to annihilate the whole human race.
Reminds you kind of a divot box, huh?
That's
Jewish divot box.
That's another similarity from another culture, maybe taking the idea of Pandora's box and molding it.
Clyde Lewis, who does Ground Zero, he was doing a show where the guy brought in a divot box. The guy brought in a divot box, and he filmed the podcast. He filmed it, and he wanted to do it because the divot box was going to be open. Well, when the divot box was in there, Clyde Lewis is in a big building. Only in his section of the building did all the lights go out, did the internet go off, and did his radio stop working. They could not even do the show. The guy had to leave who had the divot box. Security came up there, was wondering what was going on because it was only in that part of the building. And sure enough, as soon as the guy left the building, everything started functioning again. So the divot box, there's all these boxes. You know, you got Pandora's box, you got the divot box.
Ark of the Covenant, that's not really a box, but I mean, it is a ritualistic form of a box. People in Freemasonry have a ritual box. So through the beginning of time, and I really think why people are buried in coffins today is a symbolism of a box of containing death in a box. Pandora's box unleashed death. So if you were to open a coffin, I mean, you could...
Well, it's like the tombs, the mummies' tombs and stuff like that.
Sarcophaguses and stuff, you know.
Back in, what was it, the 20s or 30s, when the guy opened up a tomb and then 3 weeks later he was dead.
Well, these were curses. I mean, I think what it was is you were opening a box that had bacteria trapped inside of it for thousands of years. Curses only have the power if you believe in curses, just like superstition. And I mean, I really don't believe in curses, so I really think that it was just another selling point in regards to the sensationalism of opening these, and these tombs that had been locked away for thousands of years that contain great treasure. As we know, King Tutankhamun, his tomb was basically almost unplundered. So they had never seen a tomb that had been basically unplundered at the level. So I mean, I really think it was just dead air, or it was bacteria. You have mold and residue from the wrappings of the mummification process. Could have been insects. It could have been even a virus that was trapped in there, because as we know, King Tut died at a very young age, around age 18. So, and it's still really unknown how he really died. I mean, his body was disease ridden. I mean, he had wounds from battle, etc. But we're getting off topic. But again, is opening a box and unleashing death. That's what happened when you opened King Tut's sarcophagus, is that the curse of King Tut, again, opening a box that should have been left unopened. So we're back to leaving things alone, letting sleeping dogs lie, opening a can of worms. They all have the same connotations in different cultures. But it's funny, the more you sit back and you think about these things, you realize how closely connected the world now is to ancient civilization, and we have the audacity to think that we're more civilized than they ever were thousands of years ago. I beg to differ on a lot of issues. We have technology, but they had technology too, and I really don't think our technology these days is any better than the technology that they had, because our world is still going through turmoil, wars, plagues. We have diseases, and we have everything that should be, with our great technology, should be annihilated.
The cherubim, by the way, I just looked this up for y'all out there. The cherubim is referred to 91 times in the Hebrew Bible, and so these are the things that were unearthly beings that did the work of God. And one of the things that they did, which I already knew, was they guarded the entranceway after Adam and Eve had been kicked out of the Garden of Eden. They guarded one of them guarded the entranceway. But so this is what rests two gold figures of these cherubims sit on top of the Ark of the Covenant.
And is there any kind of drawings on the side, or is that, because I've never really seen biblical references to what the Ark of the Covenant was? It fancy? Was it not fancy? What kind of...
Yeah, it was. Okay, just so you know about the Ark of the Covenant here, it's crown or molding of gold is to be put around it. So it had a lot of gold on it. It had 4 rings of gold. The post that the rings that the post went through, those rings were made of gold. And so, yeah, it was very fancy. There is a biblical drawing of it right there. I don't know if that looks like the ISIS one.
Yeah, I mean, that's, to me, that's just like the wing. If you look at the decoration on the cherubim's wings, it is exactly identical to Isis. So that's a little bit of food for thought. I want you to look up
Well, food for thought would be this now. Obviously, wings were made to replicate feathers. So any drawing or artistic things that put wings in there is going to have like rows of feathers.
Not necessarily. They're not connotating a bird. If you were a spiritual being, it doesn't always mean that you're a bird.
Well, cherubim had wings. I mean, it was very... If you read the book of Genesis, the cherubim is very much detailed in what they look like in there. But so the angels look kind of crazy. Some of these creatures up in heaven look kind of crazy.
Yeah, but some of them are supposed to be quite scary too. They're not all beautiful.
Yeah, they're who said they were beautiful? Well, I think the only ones that were supposed to be beautiful was what, Michael and
Gabriel.
Maybe Gabriel, but those are the ones that most people know. But they don't think of the cherubim as being like angels and stuff. But they are. They're creatures from heaven. They unearthly beings from heaven. But what else you want to add to the Pandora's box or anything?
Well, I think I just want what we're trying to get our point across with these podcasts is we want to engage our audience. We want you to really get out there and learn, engage your mind. And if you have any topics that you want us to discuss on the podcast, drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you.
World Paranormal Research Society at gmail.com. World Paranormal Research Society at gmail.com.
And we would like we'd like to thank all of our listeners, but please listen, share the podcast with people that you know. I mean, we're unscripted. We just tell it like it is. I mean, Timothy has a belief system that I'm learning about and I'm embracing because I have a lot to learn and I find it fascinating and don't close your mind to the possibilities. I mean, it's a whole world out there, and I mean, expand your horizons and really, really just seek the knowledge because it's really out there. Grab a book. I mean, the internet is not the only source of information. Books, I don't care what anybody says. Books are to be read and to be cherished. I mean, between Timothy and I, we both have a lot of books out there, interesting subjects that would engage your mind, conversation pieces, and they make awesome gifts. And you know what? Get a book and share the knowledge.
Let's talk about those books, actually. If you go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNobles.com, you can get any one of my books by Timothy Mark. I have Vlad the Impaler, Vlad 3.
The Christian Disguise you have?
Christian Disguise, Killing the Pope. I got a lot of books. Alexandria just released one yesterday called Hairy Men.
Well, it's the allure of hairy men, and really what I want to it's sort of taken me on a different pathway. I'm a historian. I'm into spiritualism. So my past book was The Power of the Number 7. Get that book. That's an awesome Christmas gift. But
I'll tell you why I think she wanted to do that book so much. Because ever since she's known me, I've hated to have body hair. So I've always got rid of my body hair. And she's always like, well, why don't you keep your body hair? Keep your body hair. So she wanted to do the book on hairy men. So I've never shaved my chest hair, actually, but everything else. So.
What I'm trying to get across with The Allure of Hairy Men, yes, it is an erotic book. But, since the beginning of time, this is, again, historical through ancient civilization. Hair on men has been accused with masculinity, prowess, and mates were picked on basis of their hair. And what we're trying to do is that part of the proceeds of The Allure of Hairy Men will be donated to create awareness for men's health issues.
Men's health issues. And I tell
prostate cancer, etc.
Not just prostate cancer, but colon cancer. Also, with rich diet, people need to get their cholesterol checked. They need to get their heart checked. They need to get their livers checked, their kidneys checked. So, especially if you're a man with hair, body hair, you pretty much done everything that'll put hair on you. They say drink this, it'll put hair on you. Eat this, it'll put hair on you. Do this, it'll put hair on you. Well, hell, I must have did all that before I was 12. But what I'm saying is, portion of the profits will go to benefiting men's health.
Yeah, and I mean, we always like to give back, so we like to create an interest on an exciting topic. And let's face it, ladies, I mean, I've been fascinated with hairy men forever, and I mean, I just lucked out and I married a man that's hairy, so I mean, I hit the lottery with that one. And I mean, my husband and I always have debates. He wants to remove the hair, I like the hair. I mean, I just think it's
from my standpoint of having the hair, I like to get rid of the hair, because right now I'm shirtless, I'm overheated, and I'm sweating a little bit, and I just really don't like the feel of the hair. I mean,
yeah, but since the beginning of time, men that have had hairy chests give off pheromones that are supposed to attract mates. That's how it was through history, that if a woman was to see a man with a lot of hair, and we have a lot of people in the movies that as soon as they seen a hairy chest, the women went wild, and the TV show or the movie went through the roof.
So why is all the sex symbols on the movies and stuff shaven? That all the women's like? Yeah.
No. James Bond, Sean Connery, Tom Selleck, Magnum P.I.
Your favorite, Russell Crowe?
I don't even remember. No, he never had chest hair in Gladiator.
Right. Yeah, he didn't have chest hair.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, well, there you go.
But anyways, Hollywood.
You look at the guy that plays Thor, he don't have hair. You go back to the time of Lou Ferrigno when he was playing in the Hulk, he didn't have hair. And I don't know if women are just ignorant to it or not, but a lot of the wrestlers shave.
They have to.
All their body hair. Something that I learned about from Dolph Lundgren, an actor who he hardly had any hair until he started shaving. He had to shave for a role, which he was playing a tennis player. He started shaving his legs, and then now he has to shave them all the time because.
Yeah, but us women know that if you use a razor, it grows back 10 times faster. So that's why they advise that women wax or use Nair, because even if you shave, a lot of women have mustaches. Let's admit it, I have it too. But if you use a razor, it grows back.
You don't have no damn mustache.
Some women do that have dark hair.
Yeah.
But you'd never know because they shave it. They take care of it. So how would you know?
Okay, well, she don't shave, and if she ever grew a fucking mustache, my ass would be gone. So there you go. I've never seen her with a mustache, period. But there you go.
But now men can kind of sympathize with women, what women have to do when they shave their legs and the armpits. They used to, oh, well, what's wrong? Can't you shave your legs for me? Now they know.
Well, okay. With that note, we're going to be gone. So we'll see you on the next episode.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Bye. God, dog. Why you tell